A skid steer is one of the most versatile pieces of construction equipment out there. It's compact, can turn on a dime, and accommodates a wide variety of attachments. And although operating a skid steer isn't rocket science, understanding the fundamentals will not only help greenhorns get started, but it'll help veterans master the timeless craft of skid steer operation. What is a skid steer? A skid steer is a compact machine with either 4 wheels or 2 tracks. Generally, wheeled skid steers offer better fuel efficiency, maneuverability, and higher speed. Tracked skid steers move slower, but they've got better traction and more power. They're best for slopes and rough terrain. And because we know you're going to ask, a bobcat is a skid steer. It's kind of like calling a cotton swab a Q-tip. Safety. Here's the safest way to operate a skid steer. Manufacturer's manual. Read that manual. We're going to give you general instructions. However, each machine, depending on age, manufacturer, and model, may have differences. You also need to check the specs to ensure the skid steer can handle the work you plan to do. So always read the instructions. Personal protective equipment, or PPE. It's hot and humid and you're sweating. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, can be particularly uncomfortable in these conditions. We feel for you. But wear your PPE anyway. Would you rather be sweaty and safe or comfortable and hard of hearing? We strongly recommend the following PPE. Ear protection, hard hat, reflective vest, work gloves, and work boots. Pre-inspection. You want to make sure your skid steer is ready for action. Perform the following pre-inspection before you even think about entering the cab. Check the oil. Check the tires for tread wear. Look at the area around the skid steer and remove any obstacles, or at least be aware of what you have to maneuver around. Restraints. Skid steers have 2 safety restraints, the seat belt and the safety bar. Hearing the word restraint makes some of you refuse to use it right off the bat. But fortunately, some skid steers will not start until you at least click the seat belt. We're telling you now it's not a choice in terms of your personal safety. The seat belt and safety bar work together to provide the ultimate safety experience. Yep, we said it. Entering the cab. Walk in, turn around, sit down. Adjust the seat to your comfort level. Put on your seat belt and lower the safety bar. We're assuming you already have on your ear protection and you're wearing a hard hat, reflective vest, work gloves, and work boots, right? Controls. Read the manual to get familiar with the controls for the skid steer. If there's a diagram of the controls, make a copy and tape it up in the cab where you can see it. Starting. This may seem obvious. Some of you crazy kids do crazy things. Never start the skid steer from outside the cab. Some newer skid steer models require your butt to be in the seat before it'll start. Key. Turn the key a quarter turn until you hear a click, then turn it again until the engine engages. Button. Some skid steers don't have a key ignition. What the buttons are called may be different, but whether it's a key or keyless start, it's typically a 2-step operation. For example, some models may have a power button and then a start button. Check gauges. Is anything in the red? Well, if so, determine and fix the problem before you start moving. Turn off the parking brake. This is usually an on-off switch located above or in front of you. And look around before you start moving. Steering. There's a few different types of controls for steering and maneuvering the boom and bucket. The H pattern, the ISO or isolation, and some configurations use foot pedals for some functions. The H pattern. You'll see a joystick on each side of the seat. Both of those joysticks control movement as follows. To go left, you're pushing the left joystick forward. And to go right, you'll push the right joystick forward. To go straight ahead, you'll push both joysticks forward at the same time. And for straight back, pull both joysticks back at the same time. ISO or isolation. With ISO controls, the joystick on one side handles moving and steering as follows. To go left, you'll push the joystick forward and to the left. To move right, push the joystick forward and to the right. To go forward, you just push the joystick forward, and to move straight back, pull the joystick back. Boom and bucket. H pattern. The H pattern uses foot pedals to control the boom and bucket. You'll use the heel of your foot for some functions and toe for others. Typically, the left pedal controls the boom and the right controls the bucket. You control the boom and bucket as follows. Lower the boom by pushing your left toe down on the pedal, and raise the boom by pressing your left heel down on the pedal. Dump the bucket by pushing your right toe down on the pedal, and curl the bucket for digging by pressing your right heel down on the pedal. ISO or isolation. The joystick that is not used for moving and steering is used for controlling the boom and bucket. You'll lower the boom by pushing it forward, and raise it by pulling the joystick back, and you'll curl the bucket for digging by moving the joystick to the left. You'll dump the bucket by moving the joystick to the right. Skid steer monitoring. Most skid steers have the following basic gauges. The temperature gauge tells you how much heat the engine is generating. The fuel gauge lets you know how much fuel you have left. The hour gauge lets you know how long you've been running the skid steer. The hydraulic power gauges include variable flow to vary pressure flow while using an attachment. High flow is a hydraulic power option needed for some types of attachments. Max flow is used for maximum hydraulic power for heavy-duty attachments. Auxiliary pressure release is used to release pressure from attachments with hydraulic hoses.
Now, before we continue, be sure to crush the like button and subscribe to E&C to receive more heavy equipment guides. We do appreciate your support.
Attachments. An impressive array of attachments are available for your skid steer. Just be sure that the attachment you want to use is appropriate in type and size for your skid steer. Some examples of skid steer attachments include augers, backhoes, brooms, brush cutters, buckets and bucket teeth, cold planers, forks, hammers, mulchers, rakes, snow pushers, tillers, and trenchers. One-piece equipment can handle jobs in landscaping, construction, farming, demolition, and more. The manufacturer and your friendly equipment dealer can help you pick out the right tool for the job that will fit your skid steer. Safety tips. To hold on to all your limbs and your life, follow these 10 safety tips. Always wear proper PPE. Hard hat, reflective vest, work gloves and boots, safety glasses. Second, read the owner's manual for the skid steer you're using. Third, do a pre-inspection of the skid steer each time you plan to use it. Fourth, always wear your seatbelt and lower the safety bar before turning on the skid steer. Fifth, don't start the skid steer from outside the machine. Sixth, don't allow others to sit in the bucket or anywhere else on the skid steer when it's in use. 7. Be aware of your surroundings before moving the skid steer. Make sure there's no people or obstructions in your way. 8. Use cones, barricades, fencing, or other means to clearly identify the work area. 9. Only people who are working in the area need to be there. Anyone else should be sent out to go get lunch or coffee or donuts. And 10th, never exceed the manufacturer's load limits and speed limits. Now get out there and get it done.
Lastly, we want to thank SteelGiantMarket.com. Need to buy or sell used equipment or materials? Trust the Giant.
Well, that's all we have for now.
and be sure and subscribe so you'll be notified whenever we release a new video guide.